So good evening and welcome to the NYC Health and Hospitals Fiscal Year 2023 Annual Public Meeting for the Borough of Brooklyn. Before we start the formal program, I would like to call to your attention that we have language translation service available in Spanish. If you require these services, please call 212-788-3359, 212-788-3359. Thank you. My name is Jose Pagan. I'm chair of the NYC Health and Hospital Board of Directors, and I want to thank you for joining us. And would like to introduce the other board members who are participating tonight. And that's Dr. Mitchell Katz, President and CEO of the corporation, Sally Hernandez Pinheiro, Jackie Rowe Adams, and also on the panel we have Andrea Cohen, Senior Vice President Legal and General Legal Counsel and moderator for this evening, and Colicia Hercules, Secretary of the corporation. And also I would like to recognize Anisha Aru, representing NYC Council Member Mercedes Narcisse of the 46th District. So on behalf of the board, I would like to extend our thanks and acknowledge leadership at our Brooklyn facilities, Gregory Elise at Woodhull, Sheldon McLeod at Queens County, Svetlana Lipinskaya at South Brooklyn Health, and David Weinstein at Susan Smith McKinney. And thank you to their.
Happy to be at Woodhull. I started my 6th year with New York City Health and Hospitals. I feel so lucky to lead such an amazing organization, and I'm so proud of what we've accomplished together through some of the toughest times for healthcare workers in our communities. Certainly the last 3 years were a trial that we could not have imagined. We lost patients, we lost colleagues and family member. Our staff bravely came forward to work when much of New York City was shut down and people were in their homes. Our nurses were holding the hands of patients often in their last months, days, hours of life. Our social workers were connecting them to their families. Our doctors were treating them. We lost colleagues. It was a terrible, terrible time. But it was also a time when health and hospitals shine, not only for saving life, but people learn that if you want to get a COVID test, you want the result in 24 hours, you got to go to a public hospital, not a private institution. If you want to get a vaccination and you're not attached to a particular practice, you need to go to a public hospital, and we performed, I think, brilliantly. We also got through the pandemics of Mpox, the triple pandemic of COVID, RSV, and influenza. And now as we come out of all of these various emergencies and see a decline in hospital admissions due to COVID and lower community transmission issues, we can focus on taking care of those who are suffering from long COVID and also go back to the fundamental issues of making sure that everybody has access to care. Despite all of the work for the pandemics, we never forgot what our core missions were. We are now taking care of 100,000 uninsured persons through NYC Care. We launched Housing for Health, and we've been able to house over 400 patients. Our post-acute facilities were recognized as the best nursing homes by Newsweek, including Seaview, which was ranked #1 in the entire New York State. Anyone who believes the public sector cannot do well providing health care, there is the public sector as the #1 skilled nursing facility in the entire state. We opened our 3rd Gotham Health Center of Excellence. We were the health center that the New York State chose to deliver Paxlovid to everybody in the entire New York State. We've expanded Be Heard so that social workers would be the ones to respond to 911 mental health emergencies. We administered 15,000 Mpox vaccinations. Our award-winning show vans expanded to include buprenorphine treatment. All 11 of our hospitals now offer plant-based lunches and dinners as the default choice. Our dedicated city, state, and federal elected officials contributed almost $104 million to our facility, the largest amount of capital funding we've ever received in a budget cycle. We've committed an unprecedented $747 million to minority and women-owned businesses. We've provided care to more than 9,000 asylum seekers who have arrived at the Port Authority. We've set up the HERC centers to offer temporary shelter. All 11 of our hospitals are officially baby-friendly. Our Metro Plus membership grew to over 700,000, and our nurses got multiple awards for distinction, including at Kings County and South Brooklyn Health, which received the prestigious Pathway to Excellence Awards, and Elmhurst and South Brooklyn that received the Beacon Awards for nursing excellence. We're here in Brooklyn, my home world, where we got best in care and prevention of heart attack and strokes. At Kings County, South Brooklyn, and Woodhall earned the AHA's Get With the Guideline Award for meeting all of these high standards in this area. At Kings County, they opened up the Brooklyn Neuroscience Center, opened a long stay unit for patients with severe and persistent mental illness, and were recognized as a level 1 trauma center by the American College of Surgeons. Woodhall earned the prestigious Gold Level Beacon Award for Excellence from the American Association of Critical Care Nurses for their excellent ICU care. As part of the Housing for Health initiative, and with the help of our partners of New York City Housing Preservation and Development and Communal Life, we broke ground on a new $41.5 million building with 93 units of affordable and supportive housing as part of our commitment to turn every parking lot that we can into housing to care for homeless patients of ours. Brooklyn Borough President Antonio Reynoso allocated all $11 million in capital funds for a new state-of-the-art birthing center at Woodhall. The funds will also support the renovation of 6 existing labor and delivery rooms and upgrades to triage rooms in the post-anesthesia care unit. We secured $2 million in federal funds thanks to Congresswoman Nydia Velázquez to support necessary infrastructure improvements and enhance patient services. At South Brooklyn Health, we earned the prestigious Pathway to Excellence designation from the American Nursing Credentialing Center. Our new Ruth Bader Ginsburg Hospital is open to care. And we have there now a beautiful modern hospital building that's as great as the people who work at it. We received $1 million from the New York State Assemblyman William Colton to replace 6 echo machines to support cardiac care, and $2 million from Representative Nicole Maligtakis as part of the Consolidated Appropriations Act to acquire ultrasound equipment for inpatients and outpatient services. At Gotham, our federally qualified health center network of community-based clinics provide comprehensive primary care to children and adults all across the borough. In the last year, Gotham Health expanded dentistry services, adopted palm vein scanners to improve the registration process, and added new EKG machines in 3 clinics. It takes everyone to make New York City Health and Hospitals succeed, and we cannot do it without our patients, patient advocates, community-based organizations, elected officials, and other members of the communities we serve. I was so grateful to all of you for being here. That shows that your belief in our system. And I want to now turn to our general counsel to outline the proceeding for tonight's meeting.
Thank you, Dr. Katz, and good evening. This is the last, but most certainly not the least, in a series of 5 meetings that New York City Health and Hospitals conducts annually across the city's 5 boroughs. The The purpose of the annual meeting is to inform the public on programs and plans of New York City Health and Hospitals, as well as to give the public an opportunity to present oral testimony or to offer written testimony concerning health and hospital performance. All of the testimony, both oral testimony that will be transcribed here, as well as any submissions that people provide, will be given to our entire board, although of course we have a wonderful group of board members here to see it live as well. But the testimony will be provided to all of our board members. I think we have hit, we are 1 minute from the deadline to register to speak. So if you haven't and want to, please do so. We'll close the registration at 6:30. I'll be moderating the balance of tonight's meeting when members of the public will be asked to speak. And I just want to give a couple rules of the road for the testimony for this evening. The most important point is that the members of the board of directors who are here today and those who will be reading about this afterwards are here to listen to you, not to engage in a dialogue, not a question and answer forum. This is just a forum for you to speak and for the board to listen. In order for each registered speaker to have an opportunity to testify, the speakers are allotted 5 minutes of speaking time. There's an electronic timer. There's an electronic timer right there. When speakers approach the microphone, which is right there, we'll start the clock and you will have 5 minutes. It will be green for the first 3 minutes. A yellow light will indicate that there are 2 minutes remaining in your allotted time, and a red light means that your time has expired. After a few seconds, it will start to flash, and I will interrupt you and ask you to conclude your remarks. If you have anything more to say that you didn't get to, just let us know. You can submit it in writing. I will call the name of each speaker. I'll call the name and the affiliation that they've provided of the speaker that's going next. And I will also give the name of the one that's coming right after that, sort of an on-deck list so that people know that you're coming up soon and you can get in position to come to the microphone quickly. Those are the rules of the road. Looking forward to hearing from all of you. Please do let me know. I'll be calling your names. If I mispronounce anyone's name, please correct us at the beginning of your talk, and you will not charge that against your time. I will do my very best, and looking forward to hearing your comments. And we will now hear from the first presenter, who is State Senator Julia Salazar from the New York Senate 18th District. Okay. And the microphone's right there.
Good evening. First of all, thank you all so much for having me here this evening. I'm Senator Julia Salazar. It really is a pleasure to be here with you, but also it is a great honor for me to serve you all in the state Senate and especially to continue to represent Woodhull. I cannot adequately express what Woodhull means to me and to our entire state Senate district, which includes almost all of North Brooklyn, the communities that Woodhull serves in Williamsburg, Bushwick, Cypress Hills, East New York. You know, as our local public safety net hospital, Woodhull serves everyone, including, as I think it's been mentioned, but it can't be emphasized enough, our most vulnerable constituents. People who are experiencing homelessness, people who are newly arrived to our city, which is a challenge that all of us are grappling with and seeking to address right now. Woodhull is at the forefront of every one of our public health challenges, our public safety challenges, and the stress that our public safety net, our social safety net has to endure. Woodhull is really doing heroic work to respond to our community's needs. And And I want to mention that I serve on the Health Committee in the State Senate, but I also chair the Committee on Crime Victims, Crime and Correction. And I deeply appreciate, as I observe the conditions in our city and state correctional facilities, that Woodhull also provides care to people who are suffering in really unsafe and unhealthy conditions as well. That is heroic work, and sometimes it is thankless work, and that is why I want to acknowledge that. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the nurses here at Woodhull, currently negotiating their first contract since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. When we talk about thanking our healthcare workers and recognizing the heroic work that they do, we have to match that with pay parity, with competitive pay, to not just thank them in words, but in a material way, in a truly meaningful way. And as I say that, I recognize that it's challenging for public hospitals to meet those needs. And I want you to know that I am here as an elected official and take that responsibility seriously when we are here demanding that you do the right thing, and that Woodhull and H&H pay healthcare workers what they deserve. That we are here as elected officials. We also have a responsibility to make sure that our safety net hospitals have the funding that you need, have the resources that you need in order to meet that moment and to meet the needs of the workers who are doing absolutely heroic work every single day. I know that I've heard there are 30 speakers who are signed up to speak, so I will be brief. I really am here to listen and to learn from the testimony that we're all going to hear over the next couple hours, and to show my gratitude to all of you for the work that you do every single day, and to our nurses who are here with us this evening. I cannot thank you enough, not only for allowing me to represent you in Albany, and to bring your voices with me to the state capitol, to advocate for the change that I know we all believe in and urgently need, but also for giving me the opportunity to learn from all of you as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments. This time I'll do it the way I said I was going to do it. Our next speaker is Assembly Member Maritza Davila, and the speaker after that will be Council Member Osi.
Good evening. And I'm going to be a little loud because I know it's kind of hard to hear in here. And so I'm going to speak a little loudly so that you can hear me. First of all, I want to first thank Health and Hospitals for the phenomenal job that you do throughout the city of New York. Without you, I think that a lot of the people that live in communities like the ones that we serve would be in a lot of trouble. I want to also thank all of the nurses, home care as well. I know that we fell a little short this year in terms of pay equity. We were able to do, I believe, 7% COLA, 4% for 7% for hospitals and 4% for home care workers. That's not enough. Let us not forget that we went through a pandemic. The one people we were just relying on all day, every day were our hospitals, our nurses, our doctors. Can't forget that. But I would be remiss if I can't tell you that we need to give you a couple of recommendations. One of which to me is extremely heartfelt. I know that Woodhull Hospital has one of the most robust geriatric units. Where I feel our community is falling a little bit short on is the mere fact that we are not educating our seniors on their proxies and their living wills. We must start to promote that because of the fact that a lot of our seniors are falling ill, they're passing away, family members, you know, what happens if they have an estate, and we're not educating our seniors on that. So I would I would really recommend that we take a look at our geriatric unit here and start promoting that type of education. I have to say that I've been to many health and hospitals, but Woodhull, when you walk in, it's a wonderful place to walk into. We know that you have everything behind these walls. We understand it. And I know that you work very closely with our hospital, with the community. So I want to thank you for that as well. We are facing, and you most of all, probably going to be facing a very, very tough couple of years, as I know that you will be serving the population of immigrants that are coming into this community. Okay, we all know that, and we thank you for that. You do that better than anyone I know. We need to do more. We need to go into these HERCs. We need to go into these shelters and start pulling out these people so that they can come in and get themselves kind of like checked out in terms of their medical issues. Because we're seeing, especially in my district, in the 53rd side of Bushwick, we have HERCs with 600 men. I know they're doing the best that they can, but I think that we could do better. Drug overdoses are up in our community. We need to do more in terms of Narcan training. And I will make sure that I will work hand in hand with you to ensure that our community is educated on that too. I'm not going to take much more of your time. I just want to end with another thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. God bless.
Thank you very much. I want to recognize Senator Jabari Brisport, who's here today, not speaking, but who is here and listening. So thank you very much. Next speaker is Council Member Osi, and after that will be Council Member Gutierrez.
Good evening. This is low.
Good evening. Feel free to adjust.
DJ, can you turn me up a little bit? I couldn't really hear the last speaker last time. There we go. And we got some tall speakers after this. Well, good evening, everyone. Both folks standing in front of me and behind me. I'm New York City Council Member Chi Osei, representing the 36th District in the City Council, Bed-Stuy, Crown Heights. Welcome to our district. I really appreciate a lot of the work that is being done at Woodhull. I myself am a supporter of this hospital because I really understand the amount of work that goes into taking care of the people of New York City, of course, but most especially within this community. And I think the leadership of Dr. Katz, and I would be remiss if I didn't shout out Jessica Arocho for a lot of the great work that she does. She's a huge advocate for the hospital and really does amazing work. But I'm here to speak about our nurses. And I know that Dr. Katz, you alongside our public advocate, have been great advocates for pay equity when it comes to our nurses, right? They're truly the frontline workers when it comes to healthcare. And I know that is a cliche thing that is said, but I do want to dive into specifics in terms of what the demand is so that we can provide the top-notch medical care to the people of not only my district, but of this part of Brooklyn. You know, our public sector nurses care for New York City's most vulnerable patients. We're all aware of that, who are mostly Black and brown and low income. But due to high turnover and crisis level understaffing, it's making it harder for them to give patients the care that they truly deserve. our hospitals, our public hospitals in this city and mayoral agencies are hemorrhaging nurses. Many quit before making it even 1 year on the job and go to the private sector where a starting nurse can make $19,000 more each year. New York City is spending millions a year on expensive travel nurses. We're wasting a lot of money on that when we have great nurses right here who now make up 25% of nursing staff at our public hospitals. It costs the city too much to keep nurses' pay so low. I really want to dive into the pay equity and how it's an issue of health equity and racial justice. Patients suffer when there aren't enough experienced nurses at the bedside. Understaffing and low pay worsen health disparities. And on top of that, the crisis in understaffing at our public hospitals is caused by the enormous pay disparity between private and public sector nurses. And again, I just want to hammer in on some of your own advocacy again, Dr. Katz, alongside Jamani Williams and other allies who have joined the call for pay equity. So I just wanted to come here tonight to advocate on behalf of our great nurses, many who are standing behind us here today. And I know it's hard, right? I know our city's in a tough place when it comes to finances, but I think people and their health care comes first. And in order for that health care to be provided, we need to be paying our nurses what they deserve. Thank you and have a great evening.
Thank you very much for your comments. Next speaker is Councilmember Gutierrez, and after that will be Councilmember. Gee.
All right, well, good evening. Buenas noches a todos. My name is Jennifer Gutierrez. I'm a city council member. I represent across the street, across Broadway, so Williamsburg, Bushwick, and Ridgewood and Queens, and Woodhall. I know that this is about all H&H, so I will be referencing all of H&H, but my foundation and my love is truly Woodhall. This is our hospital. This is why you have such a vast showing of representatives here today, because Woodhall is really a beacon of hope for our community that for years has experienced record disinvestment. And so we're all hands on deck for Woodhall. And I just wanted to make that known for all the staff here, and shout out to Jessica and Mr. Calise and the whole team. I want to just raise and acknowledge Dr. Katz. I give you a hard time at city council hearings, but it's from a place of love, because I think we have every right to demand excellence from our H&H, from our public hospitals. I think we have every right to expect the best. We have every right to continue to demand accountability from our city and from our city hospital. So I always do that from a place of love. H&H has a special place in my heart. I was born at Elmhurst Hospital. I had my baby right here at Woodhall, and that was on purpose. That was an intention. I believe in this model. I believe in public resources. I know that we're here for this annual meeting, but I think it's important that you understand the stories and who comes out of public hospitals. It's right here, is your elected officials, fast forward 30 years later. And so there is incredible value in these institutions. And the reality is that we are consistently asking H&H to do more with us. We did so in the pandemic. We're doing it now with the migrant crisis. The Assemblywoman articulated how close our Kirk is, but additionally our family shelters are. This is their space. And unfortunately, every administration with any new challenge constantly calls on H&H to do more, expand their scope. And the reality is that we cannot continue to ask you all to do more when we're not paying our nurses, when we are not paying our teams. It's shameful that there is an incentive to become a traveling nurse, that the incentive is that you get paid more. It's shameful that is an acceptable incentive, as opposed to investing in these nurses that have already paid to go to nursing school, that have already made the sacrifices. And if they're at Woodhall, or if they're at Elmhurst, or if they're at H&H, they've already made a commitment to that community by working intentionally at a public hospital. They've already showed themselves to you about who they are and their values. And when we do not elevate the fact that they need pay parity,
because everything else around us is going up. The cost of housing, the cost of food, the cost of healthcare. It's shameful that we continue to ask them to show up with increased nurse to patient ratios, with no stability or raises, no future for increases. And it's shameful that we continue to do that. So I stand in solidarity with them. I know that this is not a one-way street. We'll continue to do our best, whether it's at City Hall or the state or DC, but I cannot leave without emphasizing how valuable this staff is, as well as the remaining staff at all of our H&H hospitals. I hope that after today's testimony and hearing from us and from the community at large, you understand that we are on your side. When this mayor is saying we want to bring more people off the street into our public hospitals, whether they consent to it or not, understand that we are fighting for you to bring you more resources because you are being asked to do more with less. We know that, and we just want you all to acknowledge the incredible work of the nurses and what they're expected to do and the miracles that they're doing here every day and how important it is for them to get parity so that we can keep them here, so that turnover doesn't have to be as abysmal as it is, so that we can look back at our public health system and look back at it with pride and saying that every single person here has made a commitment to a public service and they're being compensated to do that work. Thank you.
Thanks so much for your comments. Council Member Nurse, and after Council Member Nurse will be Evelyn Cruz.
Jen's not that short. Good evening, everyone. My name is Councilmember Sandy Nurse. I represent the 37th Council District. Woodhull is just outside the district, but I'm here in support of both Woodhull and H&H in general. I have Gotham East just also outside of my district, and I have the safety net hospital of Wyckoff in my district. I just want to, first of all, thank every single person who answers the call to public service, every single person who's working here, who has decided to commit their life to public health administration, or to frontline public health work. I thank you very much for your time and all that you do. And I don't want to repeat too much of what is happening because of what has already been said, because I know that there's so many people who want to talk. I just will say that this council has been advocating for over a year and a half for more resources for the entire H&H system. At hearings, at rallies, we have stood up and asked for more because, as Councilmember Gutierrez said, you are being asked to do more. You are being asked to take on an entire new portfolio of mental health without the resources. So thank you for what you do. I'm going to give the rest of my time to just express my solidarity with the nurses here, because I know they have at large been fighting for a fair contract. And to me, when we have nurses come to City Hall and express and share that they spend all day working with people who are going through the most pivotal moments in their life, and then they have to go do another job or a third job just to take care of their rent, that to me is mind-boggling. Because everything that they have committed with their life to learn about the human body, how to take care of the human body, and the emotional part of what it means to take care of people, and then to have to do all this side hustle to take care of their families, just it's deeply saddening and it's heartbreaking, and they don't deserve that. And so I really just want to stand here as someone who has aunties who are home care workers and nurses. My own sister is a nurse. Her name is Nurse. I know what it's like. And I really want us to stop just thanking people, and let's thank them in their paycheck, because that's what counts. That's what counts, is at the end of the day, if they can go home and take care of themselves and theirs, they can come and give their best to this city, which we all believe in. For me as an elected official, I deeply believe that in a city with so many resources, in a state with so many resources, that it is immoral not to invest in a strong, high-quality public health system. And I know that it's there. We have to make it a priority. So as Councilmember Osei and Gutierrez said, and Senator Salazar, and certainly Senator Jabari Brisport, Assemblywoman Davila, we are all together. We have your back. You know, we will go out and fight for more, and we ask that you support these nurses in fighting for what they need as well. So thank you so much for this time. Thank you all.
Thank you. So the next speaker is Evelyn Cruz. She's the district director for Congresswoman Nydia Velasquez. And after that will be Roseanne DeGenoff.
I'm a little shorter than our councilwoman. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, good evening. My name is Evelyn Cruz. I'm here representing Congresswoman Nydia Velasquez. She's in Washington tonight, but I want to just thank Dr. Katz and all the board members for the opportunity to speak on her behalf. Congresswoman Velasquez supports all our HHC public hospitals. We have several in our district, but we're here at Woodhull, and Woodhull is family to all of us. We want to start by thanking our CEO, Mr. Calise, Ms. Lisa Scott McKenzie, the Chief Medical Officer, and the CAB. We also want to express our sincerest thanks to all of the healthcare professionals and staffs and our unsung heroes, our nurses, who were here in the hospital saving lives throughout the pandemic, then and today. Their humanity and compassion were helpful to were comforted thousands of families who will never forget, unfortunately passed through because of the pandemic. We were here, we saw what they were doing, and we thank them for all their care and their humanity. Congresswoman congratulates Woodhull on recently passing the Joint Commission inspection. This is great news, especially after going through the pandemic. Woodhull is one of the largest public health care centers in North Brooklyn. Congresswoman is proud of the improvements and accomplishments it has achieved over the past several years to deliver quality health care and services. From being designated Brooklyn's first baby-friendly hospital, opening the first Pride Health Center for LGBTQ, opening a new birthing center and expanding the ER and more due to the support of all our elected officials. We are proud of the advancements of Woodhull, and it's all because of the leadership and the staff and the nurses that are here today. There is no doubt that Woodhull is on the forefront of addressing the unique needs of our community. Its commitment to improving the well-being of North Brooklyn residents is evident by the quality care, innovative programs, and partnering with other organizations. When New York City was at the epicenter of the pandemic, our healthcare workers, our nurses, medical staff were performing heroically to provide patients with quality treatment while struggling under unprecedented surges in patients and demand for care. That is why in 2020, Congresswoman Velasquez was proud to help secure $39 million under the CARES Act for Woodhull Hospital for specific hotspot activity to supply healthcare professionals with the tools they needed. While COVID still represents a genuine threat to the health of our communities, thanks to your work, we have made so much progress since the darkest days. In North Brooklyn, Woodhull remains vital as it works to strengthen disease and wellness prevention. Its initiatives are instrumental in treating and healing our predominantly Black and Brown community. Compared to other New York hospitals, Woodhull disproportionately sees some of the most complex patients. In addition to health services, we also need to ensure Woodhull has the resources and equipment that are essential to its operation. That is why, again, the Congresswoman recently secured $2 million for Woodhull in last year's spending bill, but to designate to make critical improvements in the delivery of care, nutrition, and bedside care to our patients. Woodhull, as you heard, is the backbone of North Brooklyn. We urge HHC to help allocate funds for infrastructure improvements, including renovations or expansion of existing facilities like the pediatric emergency room, to allocate resources to recruit and retain our skilled healthcare professionals, from nurses to mental health care providers. We cannot afford to have a staff shortage in these fields. It is imperative that NYC HHC also invest and provide additional tools and resources to meet the growing demands of our new neighbors, the new asylees. Congresswoman believes that these investments and upgrades will make critical improvements and a significant difference in the lives of our patients. On a personal note, I want to thank that Woodhull was able to save my life in 2021 when I came in with a serious respiratory condition. I was on the verge of being on the other side of the world, and they seriously helped me, placed me in ICU, and took care of me. And when I was admitted, I was an unknown. I was just a regular folk, and they did an amazing job. The Congresswoman has also been cared for at this facility, as many of our families and friends. And I have to say that when we walk through the ER, or we visit the pediatric division, or we come after hours into the ER, we are witnessing the work that the health professionals are doing here. But we have to support all our nurses. We need to ensure that they have a fair schedule, fair wages, and again, the tools and the resources to deliver for patient care. So we thank you for the time. And again, let's really fight for all our HAC's facilities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker is Roseanne DeGennaro, Chairperson of the Community Advisory Board for South Brooklyn Health. And after that will be Deborah Tyndall.
Good evening, Dr. Katz, board members. As the chair of Coney Island Hospital, South Brooklyn Health, I'm a very proud chair of the hospital. South Brooklyn Health, formerly Coney Island Hospital, has had an exciting and productive year. On May 2nd, South Brooklyn Health reached an incredible milestone with the opening of the new Ruth Bader Ginsburg Hospital, named after one of the most prominent and influential women in history. The new hospital consists of two buildings. The G building, which is the brand new 11-story structure funded by FEMA, and the existing tower building, which was completed in 2007. The G building has an expanded emergency department, state-of-the-art surgical and endoscopy suites, inpatient dialysis, inpatient pharmacy, 80 private medical surgical beds, 60 behavioral health beds, radiology, laboratory, and a most needed visitor parking lot. The tower building has 129 medical surgical beds, 32 intensive care beds, a mother-baby service for labor, delivery, and postpartum, and a special care nursery. 10 years ago, Hurricane Sandy struck our hospital with catastrophic force, damaging our building, but not the dedication and spirit of our staff. They evacuated the patients to safety without a single loss of life. The physical damage that was done to the building was devastating, but because of the collective efforts of our administration and staff then, and our administration and staff now, we were able to rebuild our campus. This all could not have been done and accomplished without the unwavering support of our federal, state, and local government partners. A thanks goes to our South Brooklyn Health employees who work tirelessly each and every day to provide excellent patient care. On May 7th, the hospital successfully moved over 170 patients from the existing hospital building into the brand new Ruth Bader Ginsburg Hospital. This transfer of patients was done early Sunday, beginning at about 1:30 a.m. Our dedicated administration and staff worked together to make this happen. During the month of May, the hospital also opened our new outpatient behavioral health department on the third floor of the Health and Wellness Institute, which is formerly our main building. Early this spring, it launched a weight loss management program, which is helpful in managing chronic diseases such as diabetes and hypertension. And last summer, the hospital began performing minimally invasive robotic surgery in the areas of gynecology, urology, thoracic, colorectal, and general surgery with the Da Vinci surgical system. So far, over 400 patients received surgical care using this advanced technology. The hospital is dedicated to the wellness of its staff, and in February, it launched the South Brooklyn Health Stars program. The program provides an opportunity for colleagues to uplift each other with expressions of gratitude. We have over 1,700 stars that have been submitted so far. Last November, South Brooklyn Health received the prestigious Pathway to Excellence designation from the American Nurses Credentialing Center. South Brooklyn Health received $18.5 million from our borough president to expand the facility's maternal health care services, which helps to reduce the maternal mortality rate among Black women. We received from the New York State Assembly $1 million to replace 6 echo ultrasound units to support the expansion of our cardiac services. Those accomplishments that I spoke about are amazing and so appreciated by our Southern Brooklyn community. But now, as chair of the Community Advisory Board, I must speak on a most requested and needed service for our community, a level 1 trauma center as part of our new state-of-the-art emergency room. We have requested this for many years. With the rise of violent crimes, this is needed more than ever. We are at the most southern end of Brooklyn. The nearest level 1 trauma center is more than 25 minutes away. When time is the essence to save a life, how could this be allowed? We have many NYCHA developments, condos, co-ops, and an unbelievable number of new high-rise buildings going up. We have thousands, probably millions of people who use the beach and the amusement area from April through October, and the Belt Parkway is our closest neighbor. Why is there a question to its need? When a young man 17 years old was stabbed at 3:30 in the afternoon, EMS brought him to a level 1 trauma center, not South Brooklyn Health. I am sure at that time it took them at least a half hour. He died. Could we have saved him if we were able to treat him in a timely manner? We'll never know. But there was a chance, and when it comes to a life, we must be able to take every chance. This is just one of the many incidents where critically injured patients are transported right past South Brooklyn Health to a facility that is miles away. The process, I know, is a long and tedious one, but that process should be started. The community understands that nothing can come overnight, just as our new hospital did. This will take a combined effort. We are asking for the help and support of our elected officials so that our community will receive what they so desperately need and deserve, a level 1 trauma center. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Deborah Tyndall, chairperson of the Susan Smith McKinney Facility Community Advisory Board. Thanks so much. And after that is Joan Baccaridden.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
My name is Deborah. That's how it's pronounced. Thank you.
Thank you.
As part of being the chair, I was a former employee of H&H, 35 years plus. Good evening. I would like to thank the New York City H&H Board of Directors for holding this hearing and giving us a voice to speak about our Center of Excellence. McKinney has somewhat bounced back from the deadly pandemic COVID-19 and continues to give the best quality care for every resident and staff despite the challenges of staffing, which is an effect from the pandemic. From our perspective, healthcare at McKinney for our elderly is giving humane care to those in our population who have given their lifeblood for this diaspora. The staff at McKinney is quite unique, and they continue to give their best daily. The people who really uphold H&H and McKinney are those who give great loyalty to what true healthcare exemplifies. With the initiatives such as iCare and Helping Healer Heal, McKinney staff have maintained and upheld their integrity, but there is more to be done. H&H need to put a system in place where we can attract and keep those employees from frontline to leadership who are caring, dedicated, team-spirited, and interested in the human as a whole person. There are many areas of resident engagement, but I cannot begin to mention them all. But those that stand predominant in my mind are those programs that are so engaging to both residents and staff, such as our famous International Day, our Residents Carnival, and those numerous H3 engagement projects. You heard Dr. Katz outlined in his report the great achievements by McKinney. I was present when the borough president spoke highly of one of McKinney's greatest accomplishments. That is being recognized in making the list of the top 5% best performing nursing homes in New York State. Best kept secret in Brooklyn. For 2 years in a row, McKinney was clinically deficiency free after the Article 20 Department of Health survey. I repeat, for 2 years. Did you hear me? Good. Thanks and special shout out to their CNO, Anne-Marie White Akinoye. Did I pronounce that correctly? Other achievements are the installment of a state-of-the-art patient call bell system, which allows residents to control their bed, TV light, and call bell in a pillow speaking. That provides additional privacy with roommates in their homes. Speaking of TVs, we are in the process of installing televisions in each room. Food services have ramped up their menu, making it more culturally and community sensitive. Complaints have lessened. Where foods are concerned, but it will even be better if we can go back to the days of preparing meals on premises like CU. We speak of staff engagement and care experience, and I must say McKinney's H3 program and shared governance leads the way because staff appears to be happier, and those who ran away during COVID and now are now beginning to return, so McKinney is doing something right. The auxiliary during COVID remained loyal to the residents and have given to them even though they could not have been there physically. They continue to work for the benefit of the residents. Nursing Week celebration was par excellence. Nursing staff was shown so much appreciation and respect. Thanks again to our Chief Nursing Officer. The leadership at McKinney is on par. He leads with such empathy and integrity. Presently, there is a positive change in attitude and hospitality at our Center of Excellence. And as our CEO once echoed, when one enters McKinney, there is such a spirit and presence, not the building, but the staff who works tirelessly to take care of our most vulnerable population. David Weinstein, thank you for all you do for our loved ones. To augment the McKinney experience, there are continuous efforts to increase the nursing staff, but residents who are discharged need faster access to housing. It would be nice to see us operate as a polling site once more because it is part of our residents' rights. Dr. Katz, the only complaint the CAB has is to have you visit a bit more often and meet with our residents who follow you all the time. We at times feel like stepchildren. I proudly attest to the happiness of McKinney because our CEO and senior leadership keeps us informed. We are willing to do whatever it takes to advocate for our residents and our facility. Thanks to the H&H Board of Directors for this opportunity to address you. Thanks to Dr. Hoy Lloyd, our Senior Vice President. Thank you for continuing to implement processes that enhances the service we can provide and for filling those large shoes left by the late Senior Vice President Maureen McCloskey. A special thank you to our liaison who truly guides us and also keeps us informed. David Weinstein, the Kenny's Chief Executive Officer, for always supporting us. So Dr. Katz, we the Mechanic Cap stand with you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next speaker is Joan Bakaridin, Chair of the Legislative Committee of the Community Advisory Board for New York City Health and Hospitals, Kings County. And after that is Tiziana Nin from the Mayor's Office.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Joan Alexander Bakaridin, proud member of the New York City Health and Hospital Kings County Community Advisory Board and chair, as you heard, of the Legislative Committee. I bring greetings to the Health and Hospital Board, leadership, staff at Woodhull, the NYSNA, so New York State Nursing Association, and community members who are present on behalf of our CEO, Sheldon McLeod, our Community Advisory Board President, Francisca Leopold, our auxiliary, and our dedicated staff. This is where my goddaughter delivered her triplets over 5 years ago, the second set in 30 years. Well done, Woodhull. There's so many great things, thank you, so many great things happening at the hospital, some of which have already been mentioned by Dr. Katz, but I have made note of a few highlights just to keep me within the allotted time. Kings County Community Advisory Board is bridging the gap between the hospital and the community. Through partnerships with community-based organizations and engaging with elected officials to progress the needs of the hospital. We hosted a legislative breakfast where our department heads shared the why, how, and needs of their respective departments. We are bringing the community to the hospital to give them a bird's eye view of the evolution of Kings County, and we'll begin to bring the hospital into the community to meet our neighbors where they are. That is to show the value of the medical professionals they will encounter when they come to our hospital. Let's focus now on how we are bringing our community into Kings County. In May, we hosted a mental health forum with presentations from our behavioral health department. In June, today, we hosted a health equity forum. And in August, we will host an older adults spa day with the theme, Living Life Like It's Golden. There, we will have a program that includes games, treats, and spa treatments, and culminating in a movie night. Then in the fall, we will have a back-to-school fun day with school supplies and fun for our youth to kick off the start of the school year. We're also looking forward to our partnership with Borough President Reynoso for a maternal health forum. We're in the midst of planning a thoughtful program. So let's pivot to what our staff is doing to address the needs in our community and achievements as a result of said focus. New York City Health and Hospitals Kings County has recently opened a new long-stay unit for patients with severe and persistent mental illness. The unit offers psychopharmacological treatment and rehabilitative activities, including music and art therapy, reading, and various exercises. As a part of the patient's treatment, the staff may support patients with trips to the grocery store and to the subway to practice reacclimation to living and thriving in the community. Staff also assist patients who are experiencing homelessness with securing housing upon discharge, and I am proud of the work that Kings County leadership and team in behavioral health have done to help reintegrate patients into the community strategically. Lastly, I am pleased to share one of New York City Health and Hospital Kings County latest achievement. After undergoing a rigorous, unannounced on-site review, Kings County has officially been designated a thrombectomy-capable stroke center by the Joint Commission, based on a review of compliance with national standards, clinical guidelines, and outcomes of care. This certification recognizes the hospital's commitment, thank you, to providing the highest quality person-centered care for stroke patients in our community and beyond. I'll end with gratitude. Thank you for your leadership.
Thank you for your dedication.
And thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Next speaker is Tiziana Nin, Community Coordinator from the Mayor's Office. And after that is Deborah Groy. Tiziana Nin. Okay, all right. Then we'll move on to the next speaker, who is Deborah Wright. I hope I pronounced that correctly, Chairperson of the Brooklyn Family Support Services Advisory Council. And after that will be Meta Guff. Very
Good evening. My name is Deborah Greif. I am the chairperson of the Brooklyn Family Support Service Advisory Council. That means we are parents of children that have developmental disabilities, and I also represent us in Albany. I want to start with bad news first. Dr. Katz, I am not going to ever forgive Bellevue Hospital for what they did to me and my son, who has developmental disabilities, when he had to be brought to the emergency room. When I show up at Kings County, downstate, and most important, Coney Island Hospital, and my child is in the ER, and they know he has developmental, I show my state ID. I didn't give a phony ID, and I was told I had to stand online for more than an hour. You see I have a walker, so I have mobility issue, but by law, he's not allowed to be in the emergency room by himself because of his developmental disabilities. Coney Island Hospital, Kings County, has never done that to me. And the doctor kept looking for me. So instead of me getting to him in time, it took more than an hour, and he was traumatized. And yes, I did sign him out because I was not going to leave him in a hospital where the HP doesn't understand how to follow state rules and regulation, an agreement that was made with OPWDD. Now, my child was born at Coney Island Hospital. You used to have a child development center named after the late Dr. Elsa DeGia. Because of them, parents like me were able to get the correct help we needed for our children. What I would like to see continue is that you continue having child developmental centers in each borough through HAC, but I also want that our parents are treated much better, because I will tell you, when he had to go back to Coney, and one of the HHP doctors, hospital police saw me, they asked me, they heard that he was at Bellevue. I said, well, they don't understand how to take care of people and I'm not talking about the nurses, because they were wonderful with him, and I thank all of you. But I was pissed, and you can all understand. I had to get to him because besides his developmental, he has food allergies, and I is diabetic. I could not let him just eat anything he wanted. And that's why I also signed him out, because I knew how to get him. And if he had to be readmitted, I would have preferred, actually, if they could have brought him in emergency. I understand they couldn't get him maybe out to Coney because it's far from Manhattan, but I would have preferred Kings County, because at least when I show up there, both the police and the doctors and the nurses understand his food and allergies and his developmental, and I have the right to be in there as fast as possible. They don't make me stand online. So I would appreciate you change and fix, because I have pictures that I wasn't able to download to you, but I will send, that you'll see that we had people who had to bring up special diet, and they were standing there an hour. That's terrible. I never had that problem at Kings County or Coney, or even we had to visit a friend in a couple of the Bronx hospitals in Upper Manhattan. Didn't happen. So Bellevue needs to get really awakened, because that was horrible. And I will tell you that my mother, who used to use city hospitals when there were 60 patients in a room, had no issue that she knew she was going to eventually pass away at Coney Island Hospital, because she knew she was going to get better care and she was given the comfort she needed. I thank every nurse that stayed and held her hand. What I'm also going to ask you is I'm glad you're going to have vegan and vegetarian diets, but you still don't meet the needs of people with food allergies, like myself and my son. My pulmonary doctor, who you know is Dr. Krishnan, tries to never have me admitted because he's afraid my son or I will drop dead from food allergies. So please fix that. And listen, when we tell you we can't drink or drink soy, peas, or other things. Allergies kill. And I don't want to have another cold blue asthma attack. And I am so glad that Coney Island Hospital's here because I know at least when I'm there, I'll get excellent care from the staff, the nurses, and everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Next speaker is Neda Ghosh, Senior Police Coordinator for the Coalition for Asian American Families. And after that is Christopher Greif.
Good evening. My name is Medha Ghosh, and I'm the Senior Policy, not Police Coordinator for
My apologies. Sorry.
oh no, for Health at CACF, the Coalition for Asian American Children and Families. Thank you very much to Health and Hospitals Woodhull for providing the opportunity to testify. Founded in 1986, CACF is the nation's only Pan-Asian children and families advocacy organization and leads the fight for improved and equitable policy systems, funding, and services to support those in need. Nearly 19 million people reside in New York City metropolitan area, and over 800 different languages are spoken. Because of New York's linguistic diversity, it is incredibly important to ensure language access. Language barriers are a huge obstacle faced by many folks in our immigrant communities and by the recent influx of asylum seekers as well. Despite there being 76 language access policies targeting healthcare settings in New York, we have found that many limited English proficient, or LEP, patients still report facing difficulties like being unable to find an interpreter that speaks their dialect or being able to fill out paperwork because a translated version in their language does not exist. A lack of linguistically accessible services in hospitals can have grave consequences. More than half of adverse events that occur to LEP patients in U.S. hospitals were the likely result of communication errors, and nearly half of those events involve some form of physical harm. Our campaign, Lost in Translation, aims to ensure that New Yorkers have equitable access to linguistically and culturally responsive healthcare services. As part of our work, we conducted a focus group with patient navigators to better understand the experience of LEP patients in our H&H system. One navigator stated, "A child was asked by a doctor to interpret for his mother. The doctor told the child that his mother had cancer, and the child refused to tell her. The doctor continued to ask him to interpret even though it was not his responsibility. Putting the burden of interpretation of medical information on a child of a patient is beyond unacceptable. It's traumatic. New York City's H&H hospitals and clinics must have readily available quality interpretation services at all times. Overall, we see a need for more intentional collaboration between the H&H system and community-based organizations to better identify language access gaps in our communities and to find solutions that will have a direct positive impact on the well-being of our communities. We also want to express our solidarity with the nurses who deserve fair pay. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for your comments, and my apologies for that error. Thank you. Next speaker is Christopher Greif, Advocate for Disability with the Brooklyn Family Support Services Advisory Council. And after that is Bhavin Araya. The next speaker.
Good evening. I'm Christopher D. Greif. As an advocate for over 30 years, and actually when I spoke here 30 years ago, which will become this fall. And I do want to say thank you to the nurses behind me, what all you guys doing. And also don't forget that during the COVID, it wasn't easy. The challenge we have to deal with that time. But also one thing I want to say, thanks to all the hospitals here in Brooklyn, because during COVID, they do help people with disabilities. And when I say the word disabilities, that's all disability, from physical, mentally, or for any kind. We do need to remind that when we enter a hospital, we are all human beings at a hospital. When I go to a hospital like Kings County, Woodhull, or Coney, which I still will say Coney, aka South Brooklyn, which it will still say Coney Island Hospital, because I was born there. we do get the excellent care. And the best part is when you come into a building, they say, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, make you feel welcome. Why we don't have, and let me say this, a lot of people feel so welcome to come into a hospital. They get the care, they get the help and directions where to go to. And I'm so glad to see larger signages at hospitals because people with disabilities who have trouble seeing cannot see signages. And I'm glad to see we're starting to use larger signages. If the subways can do it, the hospitals can do it. The buses can do it. Anywhere we go, larger signs we can see, just like Wall right in front of me, large. Without my glasses, it's still big, nice and big. One thing we need to remind everyone, yes, we deal with people with all types of disabilities, and we need to remember we're all supposed to work together, even during the COVID times, even during the hurricane times, or even blackouts, or heat, or during the smoke. We need to remember that during these times, we have to work together and keep advocating. And I hope our elected officials please understand, we have to make sure that all disabilities are accounted for because we are also maybe veterans, maybe are not veterans, but we've been advocates because of our generations from my grandmother, from her mother to her mother. We still need to continue to make sure that hospitals are still here and we can get the best care and getting help for any kind of insurance because during these times, it's not easy to get. When we need help because we need certain medication, hospitals, they like to come into HAC for one reason, to get respect. And we need to remember that. The respect of a hospital. They feel comfortable when they come in. They just need the help they need and encouragement. A lot of this is here in New York, but there is one hospital I will say, as my mother already said, and I'm going to say it, Bellevue needs to smile. Bellevue needs to lighten up. We're in the 21st century, and I'm saying this now. If all these hospitals in Brooklyn and other boroughs can be positive, why can't we get Bellevue to lighten up a little bit? And I'm saying lighten up because the lights are here on, but it needs to be remembered that we're all human beings and we have to ask a simple question that should give us the courtesy and respect. You never know that person might have a speech issue, cannot communicate correctly, or they have maybe they're having a seizure. They may need emergency help, but there's still no respect. This is why we see Brooklyn, a lot of the hospitals here, like Wohall, Coney, and Kings, get overcrowded because they feel safe in our own borough. I have people I know come from the Bronx, from the other end of the B line, just to go to South Brooklyn because they love the hospital. Yes, they go to the Bronx, but they want to get the help. They feel comfortable. They like to maybe travel on the trains or the bus or Access-a-Ride. But remember, we do need to work together. And we need to remind the hospitals and all hospitals, we're in the 21st century. Let's work together with all councils, from the DD Council to the advisory councils. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Faven Araya, Manager for Community Engagement and Relations at the Arthur Ashe Institute for Urban Health. Okay, Faven Araya, no. We'll move on to Camila Figueroa, also from the Arthur Ashe Institute for Urban Health, Senior Program Coordinator.
Good evening, everyone. I stand in solidarity across H&H, and I stand before you to shed light on the pressing issues that have been further exacerbated by the ongoing pandemics. It's a reality that we cannot deny, a reality characterized by long-standing health disparities and systemic imbalances in healthcare delivery, which have disproportionately affected historically underserved communities. And as we seek solutions to these deeply rooted problems, it is crucial to acknowledge that often the solutions are determined by the health sectors without adequate engagement from the communities themselves. This approach has resulted in policies and practices that fail to effectively meet the diverse needs of our communities. And to achieve equitable solutions, we must shift our focus from a bottom-up approach that genuinely considers the experiences and perspectives of marginalized and vulnerable populations, that the very populations that H&H Hospital is dedicated to serving. Led by the Arthur Ashe Institute for Urban Health, I serve as a senior program coordinator for Communities Together for Health Equity, or CTHE. I see some of our partners here. We are a demographically and linguistically diverse group of over 70 CBOs, or community-based organizations, and stakeholders. And together we work to ensure comprehensive social services, including access to food, housing, legal services, and mental health for over 350,000 individuals across New York City. And in my role within CTHE, I have witnessed firsthand how CBOs have come together to plan, design, and implement activities aimed at assessing and also addressing the needs of underserved New York City residents, as well as also advocating for transformative changes in the way healthcare is delivered. CTHE utilizes a model of community engagement that takes tailored approach to assess and address the unique needs of the communities we serve. And throughout our collective efforts, we have successfully reached over 1,500 individuals who are often labeled as hard to reach. And those include low income, uninsured, communities of color, people with disabilities, undocumented immigrants, LGBTQIA+, people who were formerly incarcerated, among others. I imagine that we already see the alignment between the communities that H&H serves and the communities that we at CTHE serve. And when we ask them about barriers accessing healthcare and wellness, community members share the following insights and recommendations. Firstly, healthcare is viewed by most of the participants as frustrating, biased, expensive, time-consuming, and difficult to understand. And misunderstandings and language barriers often act as deterrents for communities seeking essential care. Thus, it's imperative that we prioritize education and access to information in one's preferred language. Participants also highlighted the need for a holistic approach to health and wellness. They stressed the importance of acknowledging cultural and spiritual practices into their care and receiving treatment from practitioners who understand and resemble their backgrounds. I will consider submitting additional recommendations in a written comment, but I want to reiterate our firm belief that throughout equitable cross-sector collaboration, varied areas of expertise, and diverse community representation, we have the power to catalyze the transformation of healthcare and address the underlying social determinants of health that perpetuate disparities. It is with this conviction that we put forth the following recommendations. Firstly, we urge the increase of CBO representation in H&H governance and decision-making. Secondly, we emphasize the need to establish strategies that build and strengthen sustainable partnerships between CBOs and H&H. We also advocate for the development of equitable and sustainable funding mechanisms for CBO capacity building. And lastly, we encourage best and also promising practices of CBOs to assess and address community needs, particularly in relationship to social determinants of health. We're optimistic that the state, as well as other parts of the country, have begun to recognize the imperative role of CBOs in transforming the healthcare system. However, without the practical implications of these fundamental principles, the same issues rooted in inequity will persist, as we have seen demonstrated by the pandemic. So I would like to express my gratitude for the opportunity to provide these comments, and I strongly urge you to take these recommendations under serious considerations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks. The next speaker is Judith Cutchin, first Vice President for NISNA, and after that will be Jamal Westmoreland. Jamal Westmoreland.
Hello, hi, Dr. Katz and team. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for we allowing y'all to be in our house. We thank you for coming. And I'd like to first thank the nurses. Behind me is nurses representing from every facility in H&H, plus our long-term team. Again, hello, my name is Dr. Judith Hutchin. I am NYSA's first vice president, the head nurse in the specialty practice right here at Woodhull Hospital. I was born in Kings County, raised in Brooklyn, and a Woodhull patient, an H&H patient all my life. And most of all, I am a dedicated nurse in H&H for the last 31 and a half years. I'm proud to serve this community and any of our H&H community. We love our patients. We love our patients so much that my team, Corey Singer and Elizabeth Atkinson, used over 4 days. We walked the perimeter to assure that when we rally and gather, that we are not blocking any interest. We spent 4 days doing that. The nurses of Health and Hospital and Mayoral agencies are the backbone of New York City's healthcare system. And we bore the brunt of the COVID-19 pandemic, TB outbreak, Superstorm Sandy, and many other disasters. To build back stronger and become the healthcare system that New Yorkers deserve, New York City Health and Hospitals need safe staffing and pay parity with New York City private hospitals in order to recruit and retain qualified, dedicated nurses who will value the mission and vision statement of health and justice. We are constantly hiring, training, and then watching our nurses leave because of 2-page differences. The 19,000 a year difference for new nurses turns in 25% difference after 20 or 30 years of experience. Last week, NYSA's negotiation team and leadership were offered the city's parity of 3% over 5 years, at a time when we are in competition with the private sector and now the travel agency. This is a slap in the face. We will not be able to keep H&H open if we cannot recruit and retain nurses. Our community, vastly colors of community, will lose valuable services in healthcare and emergency services. The writing is on the wall and my heart is heavy. My heart is heavy because nurse recruitment and retention is the worst that I've ever seen it in my 31 and a half years. I watched them put the first brick on this ground from my team. H&H has become a revolving door, a teaching ground. We can't achieve safe staffing and quality care our patients deserve until we have competitive wages for nurses. Nursing job fairs at some facilities are poorly attended, and forget about recruitment. The pattern of threes will be a grim impact. Think about that. Let's reflect on COVID-19. The pandemic took a toll on all our staffing levels. H&H lost 2,000 nurses. This is a quarter of our nursing workforce. The pandemic also showed that H&H is invested in travel nursing, spending more than twice as much per hour on those expensive short-term travel nurses who have no commitment to health and hospital or the patients that we serve, the families, or the community. If the city can hire expensive contract agencies, the city can certainly afford to pay their hardworking staff nurses who are committed to the community. H&H nurses are not less than, and our patients are not less than either. To improve quality care for all, we are demanding safe staffing and pay parity. This is not to make us rich. It is to save our healthcare system that we know that provide the best quality care in the world. I'm not saying city, state, I'm saying in the world. The H&H nurses are committed to saving our hospitals and the valuable resources we provide to the vulnerable communities that we serve. We love our patients. We're dedicated to our patients. Hence the reason why people like me is here for 31 and a half years. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments. The next speaker is Jamal Westmoreland, a staff nurse. Oh, we had to go. Okay. So the next speaker then will be Ray Briggs, is an RN. Mr. Briggs, are you here? Oh, okay. Wendy Doctor, head nurse at Woodhull.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry for the little delay. I have been a nurse here at Woodhall for 36 years. I live at 749 Flushing Avenue. I saw this hospital built. I stand here as an example of HHC, a nurse in HHC. I started here as a volunteer, and then I was brought in as a nurse's aide. I was the first nurse aide in ICU. It was a pilot study, and they continue it to this day. We have PCAs in the ICU to assist the nurses. I was there too, back when the shortage was. We've always had shortage here at HHC, at Woodhall, but we have been a family and we learned to work together so we can still provide the best care possible. And we work together. I stayed 23 years in ICU. The average lifespan for ICU nurse is 9 to 10 years. So that tells you that to stay in that long, that we are doing the work. The nurses, they are dedicated to the work. You see the nurses got the Beacon Award. I commend them despite the COVID, everything. They still provided excellent care. All catheters and everything, infection rates very low. That is something to be commended, and they should be rewarded, not just in verbal, but in pay. Because other nurses are coming to this facility, and they come in for 1 year, and they're leaving and going to the private for the 19,000 different. It's not, for me, I don't follow money. I decided to stay. After 30 years, I'm at max. There's no need, people say, well, why don't you go someplace else and work? No, because I'm dedicated. This is my community. I decided to serve in my community. Even though I moved away, but I still want to serve my community. So we have to be fair to the nurses, all HHC nurses, not just here at Woodhall, but all HHC nurses. It's important that we come together to, be a help forever in the eyes of this community. And we want to see our nurses stay. We need the older nurses to teach the younger nurses. If they're not here, who's there to teach? Who's going to take the place? I'm on the other end of the spectrum almost at this point. I got 4 more years. We have to teach the younger ones because they're going to be the ones coming up. We don't want to teach them and then they go to the private hospital and do the care that we're doing here. And they snatching up our nurses because they said, if you can survive the HHC hospital, oh, you got to be a good nurse. That's the way, that's what happened. And I have worked in the private facility as well. They complain when they get 10 patients. When I worked in the med-surg unit, one night we were so short, I was the only nurse taking care of 20 patients. I will never forget that. That's forever ingrained in my head. But you know what? God helped me get through the night. The supervisor was there. We just pulled up our sleeve and we worked together and we kept our patients safe and they were alive. And that's what they do every day here. We are doing with more. We are not doing more with less. We're doing less. We're doing more with less. But we want to get more. We want to have more resources, not just about money, resources, support, but, thank God we are managing, but we are asking you to please, as you sit and make a decision. I know there's a pattern, as they say, but pattern is that's not fair. If it could be one of your relatives in that bed, if that nurse got to take care of 20 patients, how is she going to be able to see your relative and 3 other patients who needs her right away? That we're asking, please, to be considerate. And, hopefully you will give us the fair due. That's it.
Thanks for your comments. The next speaker is Peter Pacheco, NISA member. And after that is Brianna West with the Arthur Ashe Institute for Urban Health.
Evening. Hi. My name is Peter Pacheco. I've been a bedside nurse for 34 years, 12 years in Denmark, and now in New York. I worked 21 years for H&H at Goldwater Hospital until we relocated, and now we are Carter. I'm also on the bargaining committee of NYSA. I have one question for the board. Which side are you on? First, though, I have to address the performative outrage at our last bargaining session regarding our action at Bellevue Hospital. They had some nerve to be sitting there accusing nurses of jeopardizing the care of our patients when it was hospital police who blocked Bellevue nurses from returning to work after they had come out for the lunch break to support rally. Some nerve to do so when we've made it crystal clear that our patients are put at risk every day by the staffing crisis that is forced by the refusal of the city to pay its nurses the same as the private sector. Where were your outrage for that? To top it off, the mayor tries to pit us against the asylum seekers, saying that they're the reason that he can't pay us a decent wage. That will not happen. How low can you go? Now, Woodhull Hospital is also my personal acute care hospital. I live around 20 blocks down that way, and when my husband and I have a heart attack tomorrow, this is where we are going to be. Now, so if I didn't have a sense of fairness or social conscience, I still have a personal interest in having Woodhull be on par with all the other hospitals in New York. And without parity, that is just not possible. And I know the board fully is aware of that. So where is your outrage? Where do you stand? Which side are you on? Do you side with the mayor or do you side with our patients and your nurses? Do you side with the corporate lackey who promised that he would be a friend of labor, who said parity is not charity, and who said he would make it better for everyone, but who's now forcing austerity on New Yorkers, defunding schools, libraries, social services, and hospitals? A mayor who schemed to sell public sector retirees into Medicare Advantage has now been stopped, thankfully, by New York comptroller. You want us to leave our vulnerable patients to fend for themselves, to sink or swim in this hellscape of healthcare dysfunction that greed and racism has created? Or does the board stand on the side of our patients and with their nurses? We need a clear answer there. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments. The next speaker is Brianna West, Program Coordinator at the Arthur Ashe Institute for Urban Health. Thank you. And after that will be Jennifer Cook-Medine.
Good evening. My name is Brianna West, and I'm the Program Coordinator at the Arthur Ashe Institute for Urban Health. We are located in East Flatbush and serve communities in Brooklyn as well as throughout the boroughs. I'm here today to represent the community members, local leaders, and grassroots community-based organizations in our network that are part of the communities that both the Institute and the H&H Hospital serve. At the Institute, we leverage our community voices to influence our work and health advocacy. Also, within my work, I've had the pleasure of sharing space with medical professionals and social workers of the H&H network to discuss the many challenges and obstacles that exist within the healthcare system. I have learned through these discussions that there is a desire from both patients and providers to address these issues of exacerbated health disparities and barriers connecting to care. And today, I would like to speak specifically to the incorporation of technology within the healthcare system and provide some insight and share the importance of collaboration to ensure equal access to care and respect to technology use. As we know, the COVID-19 pandemic has led to a shift towards utilizing more technology to communicate and facilitate care. However, it is important to acknowledge that the increased reliance on technology in healthcare can also lead to increased health disparities if not implemented equitably. Those who may have limited access to technology or lack the digital literacy skills necessary to navigate online healthcare platforms effectively will create a barrier to needed services, which is why implementing a community-based strategic process to address the digital divide is necessary to ensure equitable access to care in an evolving healthcare landscape. To address these issues, the Arthur Ashe Institute is working to ensure that vulnerable populations are not left behind in this time of technological advancement. Currently, we have developed and implemented a software program to access community needs in real time, provide health information, and connect individuals to care by patient navigation or by using the digital citywide resource guide developed by Communities Together for Health Equity, or CTHE, all by the use of kiosks that are housed in local barbershops and salons in central Brooklyn. So far, we have seen that the integration of technology within community settings, particularly within barbershops and salons, has in fact increased the accessibility of health information, resources, and patient navigation services for those in need. Within the first 3 months of implementation, we had over 300 kiosk users, with 50% of community members requesting health-related information, 33% of users requesting linkages to care, and 33% of users accessing the digital resource guide. The top individual needs reported through the kiosk are affordable housing, financial assistance, and access to food. It is important that we recognize the intersectionality of the social determinants of health needs and access to care, and that these non-clinical social needs are directly linked to hospital system utilization and overall health outcomes. What we have co-created is not a solution, but a tool to address the lack of access to social services and resources. With this tool, we are building the capacity for community members to use technology to improve their health outcomes. To conclude, collaboration and co-creation between the community and H&H hospitals to bridge the digital divide in healthcare has the potential to address health disparities by improving access and communication, and also ensure equitable implementation. By addressing the challenges through foster partnerships, we can utilize the power of technology to reduce health disparities and promote health equity. I hope that H&H is able to recognize the importance of increasing technological literacy in the health space and embrace collaboration with local leaders and community-based organizations serving shared populations. Together, we can drive meaningful change in the way care is provided and ensure that everyone has equal opportunity to achieve optimal health outcomes. Thank you.
Thanks so much for your comments. Next speaker is Jennifer Cook Medina. Not here. Okay. Then the next speaker after that is Sonia Lawrence, President of NYSMA.
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity again to speak. Oh, by the way, I'm not also just an employee of H&H, I'm also a client. I was treated at our H&H hospital too. Living proof standing here. You do good work at H&H. My name is Sonia Lawrence, and I'm the president of NYSMA, New York City Health and Hospital Mayoral Executive Council, and the nurse at Lincoln Hospital in the Bronx for 29 years. New York City Public Hospital and mayoral agency nurses are here at Woodhull today to say enough is enough. Our public
So, Sonia, would you hold just a second? I think your mic is not working. Is it mine? Start wherever you want.
as I was saying, Our public hospital nurses take care of our city's low-income communities of color, regardless of whether they are insured or documented. Our mayoral nurses make sure that our city firefighters and police officers can stay healthy and on the job. And we also take care of incarcerated New Yorkers. We simply care for all New Yorkers. We are essential. You cannot have hospitals without nurses. Our patients come for medical care and stay for nursing care. But New York City isn't treating us like we're essential. Last week, the city insulted nurses by proposing a 5-year contract with only 16.2% in raises over a whole 5 years. With inflation rates so high, that basically is a pay cut. That is basically a pay cut. And that would put us further and further behind the private sector, meaning that turnover would remain high and we would have been working understaffed. Make sure and make no mistake, nurses have choices. We can also outsource our services for better working conditions and better pay. So many of our experienced nurses are exhausted, burnt out, and fed up. They retired or left H&H and the mayorals for better pay and more respect. More are leaving every day. We know that the city can afford to pay parity. They have chosen to throw away money on temp staffing contract instead of investing in Black and brown nurses that care for our communities. We just found out that the fiscal year of 2022, New York City paid a shocking $1.2 billion to a non-for-profit staffing company called Right Sourcing. Right Sourcing took that $1.2 billion and lined their pockets and then subcontracted to temp agency to fill staffing gap largely caused by nurse pay being so low. $1.2 billion, that's a lot of money. That $1.2 billion that the city didn't spend on doing what it takes to recruit and retain staff nurses, it will cost the city hundreds of millions of dollars less to raise pay for public hospital and mayoral nurses to stop the crisis of high turnover and understaffing. Enough is enough. We call on Mayor Adams to do the right thing for nurses and our patients and settle a fair contract and pay parity now. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. The next speaker is Nathan Christensen. Is Nathan Christensen here? RN at Wood Health? No, okay. So then the next speaker is Hector Alicia, a community health worker with Riseboro Community Partnership. Sorry for that. Hector Alicia. No, okay. All right, well then, if that is the case, then I will thank you all for participating in tonight's meeting. Thank you so much for all of your comments and for your patient listening, and the meeting is adjourned. Good night.